What's up everyone? I'm Mo from Time Off Audio. It's finally here, our multiband processor, DiME-MB. Yes, you know it by now, MB is for multiband. It's the latest addition to our DIME bundle, along with DIME-TT, our transient processor, and DIME-MS, our mid-side processor. DIME-MB splits an incoming audio signal into up to 5 frequency bands and lets you process them independently with any VST3 or audio unit plugin. So you can build intricate multiband chains with your own favorite plugins, without the hassle of duplicating tracks, setting up buses and sends, and dealing with phase issues. Let's jump right into it. The first time you open DIME-MB, you'll want to scan the plugins on your system. If you've already done so in either DIME-TT or DIME-MS, your plugins will already be here and you won't need to go through this setup. But if it's your first time doing so, you want to go to the Plugin Manager dialog over here. Note that if you have many hundreds or thousands of plugins, it's best to only scan the ones you plan on using, as the scanning process can be slow for very large libraries. When that's done, you can see all your plugins here in the Plugin Manager. Next, let's take a look at the interface. In the header of DIME-MB, you have the Plugin Manager, which we just saw now, the settings, where you'll be able to access display settings, such as the UI scale, a toggle between brutalist and precise spectrum modes, your license information, and generic info about the plugin, such as the plugin version. If a new version is available to download, you'll see that right here. Here, you'll be able to toggle between light and dark mode, so you can work comfortably around the clock. Then, the bypass button, which is the global bypass for the whole plugin. In our main view, we have the frequency spectrum and the currently selected band's effect chain. The frequency spectrum is where most of the action is. You can drag crossovers with your mouse, or set the crossover frequencies manually via keyboard input. You can work with 2, 3, 4, or up to 5 frequency bands. The middle bands can be dragged left and right inside the frequency spectrum, and their width can be increased or decreased by dragging them up or down. When you hover over a band, you'll see the band's dedicated controls, a solo toggle, a mute toggle, and the band delete button. Pressing on the tab above the band will display that band's effect chain on the left. Then here on the left, we have the effect chain. It consists of 4 boxes. These are the plugin slots. That's where you load your plugins. Under each effect chain, you get a dry-wet slider and a trim. On the very left, we have the parameter mappings panel. They let you control parameters of the hosted plugins without opening each plugin's UI. You map sliders in DIME-MB to any parameter of any hosted plugin and tweak it from there. Finally, in the footer, you'll find the processing mode, zero latency and linear phase. Then on the right, the output level meter, as well as the global controls such as the input gain, the output gain, and mix to blend in the global wet and dry signals. Note that all sliders in the UI can be controlled by dragging them, by manual keyboard input, and by scrolling with your mouse or trackpad. Let's dive into the signal path. DIME-MB's input signal first goes through the input gain, before landing in the multiband splitter. The splitter can be configured with 2 modes, zero latency or linear phase. Zero latency mode uses Linkwitz-Riley filters that incur no latency, at the price of some phase distortion around the crossover frequencies. Linear phase mode, on the other hand, does incur some additional latency, but uses symmetric finite impulse response filters to ensure perfect phase. Both preserve magnitude, meaning the signal's gain is unaffected. In both configurations, the crossover slope is 24 decibels per octave. Each of these frequency bands are fed into a dedicated effects chain. These chains follow the channel configuration of the plugin's main input bus, stereo or mono. Each chain's processed output then goes through a dry-wet mixer and a trim. Before the bands are summed back together, each band is delayed by a specific amount to ensure that all bands are latency compensated and merged transparently. Finally, the output signal can be blended in with the original dry signal and passed through the output gain. Then we have the sidechain signal. DIME-MB accepts a sidechain bus, which it routes to all hosted plugins that support a sidechain input. The signal is also latency compensated, ensuring that it arrives perfectly aligned with the main signal into each hosted plugin. I hope you enjoyed DIME-MB, and happy mixing, happy producing.